Yes! Oh, I was so close to falling off. Oh my god. Fucking hell. I was so close to falling.
Oh my god.
Holy shit. Oh my god.
Pete Whittaker and his Tash have made the third ascent of Mason Earle's crack test piece Stranger Than Fiction in Bartlett Wash, Utah. Following on from the theme of last week's news report where we talked about barefoot Charles climbing without shoes on, the interesting thing about Pete's ascent of Stranger Than Fiction is that he is the first person to do so using 2 climbing shoes throughout, with 1 on each foot. Both the first and the second ascensionist, Mason Earle and Law Saborin, opted to climb the start of the route wearing climbing shoes, as you would, but then up high where the crack thins out, they opted to use a taped foot instead in order to get their toes into the cracks where a climbing shoe wouldn't fit. Pete opted to use a low profile shoe using Unparalleled's Up Lace, the low volume version, in order to wiggle his foot in. The thing is, if Pete's hands are anything to go by, we reckon he's going to have a pretty chunky set of feet, and so it's amazing he managed to fit them into the crack. But this is Pete Whittaker we're talking about, and if there is any terrain he is familiar with climbing, overhanging, awkward and unrelenting cracks are it. The route demands a range of crack climbing skills, with the first 30 feet consisting of 50-degree overhanging terrain and a feet-first approach required, using finger locks and thin hands throughout. It sounds awful. The route then offers a second crux, a hard boulder problem, which thankfully leads to a rest. Upon leaving the rest, climbers are faced with a thin and unyielding crack climb. And this is where previous ascensionists had removed that right shoe. It's 50 foot in length, 25 degrees overhanging, and saves the crux to its very last moves. Hence why Pete looks so stressed clipping the chains. Let's take another look at that.
Yes! Oh, I was so close to falling off. Oh my god. Fucking hell. I was so close to falling.
Oh my god.
Holy shit. Oh my god.
That's a look of a man in pain. Pete had this to say about the route on Instagram. Stranger Than Fiction has always been on mine and Tom Randall's radar, but I was worried I wouldn't be able to fit my meat mitts into the jams. It turns out I can, but only just in some cases, as going crack and tape gloveless was the only option at the beginning. As it's not had many ascents, I'll give my thoughts on the grade to add to general consensus over time. For me, it felt tough 8C, harder than Cobra Crack, and easier than Recovery Drink. With pure cracks like this, hand and finger size does always play a part though. This crack does take in a range of bad sizes, so the cruxes are likely to be slightly different for everyone. However, what can be said is it's such a classic for the hard global crack circuit, and you really need to know your pure jamming techniques for this one. Thanks Mason Earle for the vision and the fight right to the anchor. Now I'm going to bathe my fingers as they feel beaten. Tom and Pete have been documenting their efforts over on the Wide Boys YouTube channel, and we hope we'll see not only footage of Pete's ascent, but also of Tom's ascent if he goes on to make it. Without doubt, the best comment we have seen on the YouTube channel so far has been this. It's incredible that Tom Random, at his 50s, years old, can still keep up with those kids such as Pete, who's probably not even 20 years old yet.